Boker Tov, today's daf is daf Nun Ches number 58 in Gitin. As we look for a fourth shlomo for Elazar ben Ruma and for Yosef ben Chaim Michal, both of those boys were injured in the Miron tragedy a couple of years ago. They're still not in good shape. And also today we're going to wish a refuah shlema to a young boy who's having brain surgery today, Yisrael Yaakov ben Sharon Perel. May he have a refuah shlema and a successful surgery. Okay, right now we're down to the fourth line on Nun Chesem Aleph, where we left off yesterday. The fourth of the widest lines. The lines get real wide. The fourth line. Of course, here we're talking about at the time of the Romans. This is a whole been discussion about how they took us into captivity, destroyed Yerushalayim, destroyed the Beis Hamikdash. So there was a story with the daughter. We just learned yesterday. The last story was about how a young boy in Rome was found by Rabbi Shiur ben Chananya. And Rav Shapiro realized that he was going to be a great leader in Israel, a great Mora Hara, a teacher. And that, who was it? It was Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. So now we're going to talk about the children of Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. A story like this. There was a story with the son and daughter of Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, Shenishbu, the She'adonim. They were captured. They were taken into captivity by two separate masters. Two separate goyim took each into captivity. One the son, one the daughter. Liyomim, when time went on, the two masters, they were at the Master of Slaves Convention. They went to the Master of Slaves Convention and they met one another, these two masters. I've got a slave, the most handsome slave in the world. And I have a slave woman, who is the prettiest in the whole world. Now, they were both the children of Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha, who himself was good looking, as we saw as a child. They said, listen, let's marry off these two beautiful slaves, a slave man and a slave woman, and we'll have beautiful children. We'll split them. That's what we'll do. We'll split the children. Of course, they were brother and sister. And they brought him into a dark room at night. And they said, okay, do what comes naturally, and let's see how it goes. Each one, the boy and the girl, who were both the children of Rabbi Shmuel and Elisha, they sat in opposite corners. The boy said, I'm a Kohen, Ben Kohanim Gedolim. I'm a Kohen, the son of Kohen Gedolim. That was Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha. Pamachas nechnasti lifnim mitnai. First, when he went in a famous story. Daf Zion over there, right? In where's Brachos? I remember it's Daf Zion. I'm not sure which was. I think it's Brachos. And he went into the five of name, Verisi, Akasriel, Shakar, Shem Tzvakas, the famous song. He was the Kohen Gadol. In other words, so this boy said, "I am a Kohen, the son of Kohen Dolan. Esa Shifcha, I'm gonna marry a slave woman, which is forbidden. I'm gonna sleep with her." There's Osamaris, and the girl, who was really his sister, but there was a dark, they couldn't see one another. There's Osamaris, Ani Kahanas Paskanim, I am a Kahanas, the daughter of Kohanim Dolim, and Nase Levet, I'm gonna sleep with a slave. Ubachu Kolal, the whole night both of them cried. Keep Shalom Mashachar, once daybreak came, and they were able to see, light came in, they were able to see one another. They realized they're brother and sister. They hadn't seen each other for a long time. They were each in separate captivity, and they were put into a dark room to deal with one another, and thank God they didn't. Right? They were brother and sister. They fell upon one another, crying, holding one another, and crying out that thank God they didn't sleep with one another, but they were happy to see one another. And they cried so much that they died. In other words, they were so grateful and happy and sad at the same time, and that they cried. And Yirmiyahu, for them, he eulogized. Konain is he lamented. He lamented al Eilani b'chia. For these I cry. Eini yardamayim. Of course, the psukim and Echa. My eyes, water is running out of them. Amr Shlokish. Ma'aseh b'Yishach is another story like this. In other words, they were so grateful and joyful as to what happened. At the same time, it's like happy and sad at the same time. Happy that they found one another, and happy that they didn't commit an incestuous act with one another, and they, out of such joy and high emotions, they died. Amr Shlokish, Ma'aseh b'Yishach is another story with a woman, B'tzafnas Bas Peniel Shema. That was her name. Safnas Shakol Safn Befi. Everybody looked at her beauty, a beautiful woman. Bas Peniel, the daughter of Peniel. Why? Bita shel Kohen Gadol. He was the daughter of Peniel. Sheshimish lefnai lefnim. That's Peniel, like inside. In lefnim by Hashem. Lefnim Peniel by Hashem, inside by Hashem. He was the Kohen Gadol. Also another story with the daughter of a Kohen Gadol. Shenisal bash shavai kol laila. And these captors had taken her and abused her the whole night. The next day, he'll be Shesheva Chalukim. The next day, they put on 7 garments on her. But see, take out the seller. First they had this beautiful daughter of also at the time of the Churban, a beautiful daughter of a Kohen Gadol. They abused her the whole night. Then they took her out to sell her as a slave woman, covering her up with 7 garments. There was a man came, an ugly man. Amalo, I want to see how beautiful she is. Let me see her. Take off all her clothes. Amalo, they said, Reka, you fool. And he had one mouth to roast. You want to buy her, buy her. I'm telling you right now, nobody's as beautiful as this lady. You're a fool if you don't buy her. Amalo said to him, Afal Pikain, even so, I want to see her. Take off all her clothes. If she they took off 6 of her clothes, the top 6 layers. Vishmi, when it came to the 7th one, she saw what they were going to do. She ripped it off herself. Vishmi Karasa, she ripped it off herself in his pashmeif, and she rolled in the dirt, in the ashes. Amr Lafanav, it's probably dirt, sometimes enough or interchangeable, but in any case, she rolled naked in the dirt. Amr Lafanav, they said, Amr Lafanav, she said before Baruch Shalom, Rabbanu Shalom, if you have no mercy on us, why shouldn't you have mercy on your great name? Look what's happening to your people. And Yirmiyah lamented about her. Bas Ami, daughter of my nation, Chigrisak, wear sackcloth, gird yourself with sackcloth, and roll in the dirt. Make yourself a mourning as for an only child. That's the worst kind of mourning. If a person has any child, a loss is great loss. But if he only has a single child and he loses him, that's a terrible mourning. Mispei tamimim, a eulogy, a bitter eulogy. Kipitom yavo hashode aleinu, because the Shodei, the destroyer, has come upon us suddenly. Hashem didn't say came upon you, Ella aleinu, on us, meaning Hashem included himself in this terrible situation. Kaviyachal alive alech, as if to say that the enemy has come upon me and upon you. Alive alecha b'shodei. Amrav Yudah Marav. Minus the pasuk says v'oshku gever ubeso. Pasuk says that this is a continuation. It says this is a pasuk in Micha that a man and his house will be oppressed. The ish benachlaso, and a man and his inheritance. What do you mean by that? What do you mean that they'll be oppressed? One person will oppress another. This all these ma'asim we saw yesterday, that the lashon hara and the evil talk and people not being considerate of one another. This all led to the Churban. Here's a story which also led to the Churban. Story of one man was working for he had a boss. He's working for the boss. He was a carpenter's apprentice. He was a carpenter's apprentice, but he liked his boss's wife. He liked her very much, and he wanted to take her away. One time, his boss needed to borrow money. Sometimes the boss needs the money for an investment or whatever. He needed to borrow money. Amalo, so the apprentice told him, I'll tell you, I'll give you some money. Send your wife to me. And I'll lend her the money. Let her come to my house and I'll lend her the money. So the boss sent his wife to collect the money for him. She stayed with him for 3 days. She stayed with the apprentice for 3 days. So you can imagine what happened, right? She stayed with him for 3 days. So now after 3 days, the boss said, what's going on? Amrlo, Ishti, my wife that I sent you, where is she? Amrlo, I need her to see a lot. What I mean? I gave her the money, I gave her, she left right away. Where has she been? Shamati, I heard Shatinokos the Salba. I heard that the kids abused her, but they were on the road. That's what I heard happened to her. Amrlo, I'll tell you, so the boss said to the apprentice, what should I do? If you listen to me, if you listen to my advice, you should get rid of her. Divorce her. What are you going to do with her? She's been abused. Just get rid of her. You got a big sub. I can't afford to pay. I'm in strapped for money. I'll lend you the money. The 10 lakh sub, pay her the money. I'll lend you the money. Give her the sub and get rid of her. So that's what the boss did. The Girsha divorced her. Halachu. And what did the apprentice do? He married her now, right? He had already left her. Halachu benasa. Now, obviously, he had already slept with her when she was married to the bosses when she was married to the boss, which would prohibit her from marrying her even if she got legitimately divorced. Now, why? She was like a sota. But he married her anyway. But now the boss couldn't pay back the loan. He had let the apprentice lent the boss money to pay off the ksuba. Now he couldn't pay back. When he came time to pay, I'll tell you what, you work for me. Work off, you like wash the dishes and work off your loan. Now but at this point, the apprentice was married to the boss's former wife. They were sitting, they were sitting and eating and drinking. And he was serving them. Now the boss himself was serving his apprentice and his former wife. But the most notice made of his tears ran out of his eyes when and fell into their cups. That's how sad it was that his own wife had been taken away by his apprentice, and now he was serving them like a servant. This Khatim Zardin, the Zardin, so to speak, the final Zardin that Churban was going to take place was based on that time, this horrible act that this apprentice had done. Like this, Zardin, the decree was sealed by this event. I'll state seals, but some say because 2 wicks with one lamp, which is a euphemism for 2 people sleeping with the same woman. As Rashi says, that's what it's referring to. That it's shape seals, that because of this sin of adultery, this contributed to the final decree of the Churban. Now the Mishnah said, well, let's go back to the Mishnah. After the time, remember at the time of the Churban, the Sikrikim were allowed to take your land, and they would kill you. So sometimes you gave up your land in return for your life, and you were willing to do it willingly. You gave up your land to save your life. After the Churban, it wasn't as bad. The Sikrikim weren't allowed to kill you, but still they would take the land and pay you less than it was worth. Now, the Sikrikim have the land. Maybe you could get it back. You'll buy it back from them. They gave you some money for it. They gave you, let's call it 3/4 of the money they paid you. They took off 1/4 of the value. You could buy it back from them if you have the money. You could buy it back from them, or somebody else could buy it back. Is somebody else allowed to buy it back? It was taken from them. So he said, since they were willing, they willingly gave up their money, even though they weren't going to be killed. But at that point, they willingly gave up the land for the money. So in general, you could buy it from the Sikrikim. However, we said later on in the Mishnah that the later Bezdin said that the original owner has to be given the right of first refusal. So if they can't buy it, if the original owner has the ability to buy it back, he has right of first refusal. If he doesn't want to buy it back, then you could buy it from the Sikrikim who took it away who forcibly bought it from the owner, and you pay whatever you pay. You're paying 1/4 or less, let's say, because that's what they paid for it, and you give the other 1/4 to the owner, and then you're okay. Later on, the rabbi said, Rebbe assembled a bezdin, and they said, look, if the Sikrikim's there for 12 months and the original owner didn't buy it back, he didn't make efforts to buy it back, then anybody could buy it back, but you still have to give 1/4 to the original owner. So the original owner doesn't have any financial loss at the end of the day, because the Sikrikim paid him, let's say, 3/4, and he got the other 1/4 from whoever bought it back. So we said, however, if you bought it from the Sikrikim first, your first job was, the Sikrikim, you should first go to the owner, the original, before they later said that, if the guy was there 12 months, didn't buy it back, you could just go and buy it from the Sikrikim directly. They said originally, if you buy it from the owner first, and as if you go to the owner and you try to buy it from him and he's willingly sells it to you before you go to the Sikrikim, that's okay. But if you bought the Sikrikim first, then the owner's going to agree to it because he figures, okay, better it be in your hands than the Sikrikim. I'm not going to be able to fight the Sikrikim as well, so I buy it from. So it's better. So he didn't really mean to sell it. That's the point. That the Mishnah said that here's a good case. If you bought it from the Sikrikim and then you bought it from the Baal Bayis, it's batal. It's the deal's void. Why? Because when you bought it from the Sikrikim, maybe the owner didn't really want to sell it. Right? He forcibly sold it to the Sikrikim. Now you want to buy it from the Sikrikim? Well, really, you have to give the owner the first rights. Maybe he wants his land back. So if you bought it first from the Sikrikim and you paid for it, and now you want to pay the difference or whatever, now you want to go buy it from the owner, whatever the deal was, whatever you were going to pay, that's no good, because he's only selling it to you because the Sikrikim have the money, so he's not going to be able to get it back. So, but if he sold it to you before you paid the sakrikan anything, in other words, before you went to the sakrikan, you came to him and he willingly sold it to you, then it's a good sale. So the Mishnah said if you bought it from the sakrikan first, it's not a good sale. So it's only when you came to him and you bought it from the sakrikan first, and then I said, okay, go take it. You bought it from them anyway. What am I going to do? I was paid already most of it anyway. Go take it. Go make a chazak. But if the owner gave you a shtar after you bought it from the sakrikan, the owner gave it to you with a bill of sale, taking responsibility for it, then it's a kinyan anyway, even though you went to the sakrikan first. In the original halacha, before the bezin shalach reim. Ushmul Omar, even if he gives you a shtar, he doesn't really mean to sell it to you until he puts a chrayis in the shtar. That means he guarantees it, that if the field's taken away, he'll give you your money back or other assets to replace them. Tani Kvasir Shmuel, proof to what Shmuel says, Rav Shmuel Lazar Omer, Lakach Manisha, in case where a wife had some property she brought into the marriage, and the husband sold it. And like we said in the Mishnah also, if the husband sold it, then you went and bought it from the wife. She just says, okay, I don't want to start. I have to live with the guy. I don't want to start up with him. So she didn't really mean to sell it. It's not a good sale. But if she sold it first, then you can go to the husband also. That's what the Bryce says also. It's a good sale because she willingly sold it to you before you bought it from her husband. But if you bought it from the husband first, then you bought it from the bottle. That's no good because she only did it because she didn't want to fight with her husband. She didn't really want to sell it. Until she writes a shtar with a chrayis. Oh, that's a proof to what Shmuel says that it's not a good sale unless the second party, the party who didn't really want to sell it, sells it to you with a chrayis, then it's a good sale. So that's the Chari Mashma, what we said, what Shmuel said in the Manalef. It says, name it, no, my chrayis nami shtar. When he said a chrayis doesn't really mean you guarantee it with other property, other cash, or other assets you have. It's only when you wrote it with a shtar. That's all it means. So therefore, here the achrayis doesn't really mean any more than a shtar. So you can't prove like Rav or like Shmuel, even though generally when it comes to money matters, we hold like Shmuel that with a shtar, it's not a good sale unless you put achrayis in there. Now let's understand something. Let's go to Bab Basra. There's two kinds of chazakah. One is a chazakah of a kinyan, like chazak b'kni. If I buy property, how do I get property? I buy property. I can either give you cash, good sale. Shtar, sale, bill of sale. He signed the bill of sales. Another way is make a chazakah. I'll pay you the money later on, but now I'm going to make a fence around the field. That's a chazakah. I showed some ownership. That's one kind of a chazakah. There's another kind of a chazakah. There's another kind of a chazakah learned in Baba Basra that if you stay in the land for 3 years, you remember the 3-year deal, like you swear on it, what does that mean? That's not a way of acquiring land at all. What it is it's a proof of purchase. If I say I bought land from you, okay, where's the deed? I bought it 10 years ago. You expect me to keep the paper that long? Who can keep paper that long? 3 years is what I'm responsible to keep the paper. If after 3 years, and 3 years when you saw me, not that you were in some other land, 3 years I was on the land and you didn't say anything, then I could say, I bought it from you. Where's my shtar? It's 3 years, I can't keep the shtar anymore. That 3 years, that chazak is not a form of ownership. That's simply a proof of purchase. Proof of purchase. But I got to say, I bought it. If I didn't say I bought it, hey, what are you doing? Hey, what are you? I'm here 5 years already. Okay, did you buy it? No, but nobody said anything. I'm here 5 years, like a squatter. That doesn't mean anything. You have to say you bought it. Okay, you bought it, and you don't have proof of purchase. You don't have you don't have a document. 3 years is good enough. Now, you have what? Yeah, you have to work the land. You have to be on the land, but that land you have to have a claim that you bought it or was given to you or you inherited it, and you're here for 3 years. If you have no claim, since I was here, I squatted on the land. That doesn't mean anything. You stole it. So let's say, okay, the Sikrikan stole the land from Yankel, right? From Yankel. They said this not stole, they forcibly bought it. Now we have two purchasers. Number one, he bought it from the Sikrikan, right? He bought it from the Sikrikan. Now, can he buy from the Sikrikan? Yeah, we said if the owner doesn't want to buy it back, right? Maybe he could. But let's say he bought it from the Sikrikan. He was there for 3 years. He didn't listen to us. He didn't go to the owner. He says the Sikrikan have the land. He went to the Sikrikan and he paid them for the land. And he was there, and he was there for 3 years. Means he stayed on land 3 years. And the owner, Yankel, the original owner, saw it. saw it all. He was there. He lived in the same area. And now number one sold it to number two. Number one who bought it from the Sekrikin was there for 3 years. Now he sold to number two. Number two didn't know anything about Sekrikin, the original owner. He didn't know Yankel. He didn't know anything. He bought the owner, now the owner, Yankel, wants to come to number two. To number one, he might have a claim, right? You bought it from the Sekrikin, you should have come to me first, right? But number two doesn't know anything. He doesn't know. He bought it from number one. He doesn't know. So the owner, Yankel, has no claim on number two. Sigmar says, what's the case? If he says, I bought it from you, Yankel, if I bought it from you, I feel a Rishanami. The first one has a claim too. If he says, I bought it from you, I got it from the Sekrikin, but I also bought it from you. Maybe I went to you first. I bought it from you and I've been here 3 years. That's a valid claim. 3 years is proof of purchase, but I had a claim. I bought it from you. Eat the lokaton, and if the first one, if he says I didn't buy it from you, I feel shame. How could the second guy have a claim if he didn't buy it from him? Second guy has no claim either. The first guy could say, listen, you got it from this guy, stolen property. You bought stolen property. So I say you have no claim on the second guy. What do you mean? The second guy has the original Yankel has no claim on the second guy. Why not? The second guy didn't say he bought it from him. Just being on the land doesn't mean anything, or buying it from somebody else who stole it doesn't mean anything. He didn't say anything. In certain cases like this, where it was well known that the Sekrikin took the property, things like that, and people have a way that they know that it was properly. If the Sekrikin took it, they usually pay. Maybe they pay a quarter less, but they pay for it, so they own it legitimately. So in a case like that, we claim for the Yorish. If he was an heir or he was a purchaser, we claim for them. In other words, because what is he supposed to do? He doesn't know what took place between number one and Yankel, between number one and the Sekrikin. So therefore, we claim for them. Yeah, okay. The other guy was on the land. He claims that he bought it. That's okay. If just look, he didn't say anything. In other words, the second guy can't go to Yankel and say, I bought it from you. I paid you. He didn't buy it from me. He bought it from number one. He has no good claim, but we make a claim for them. Because in a case like this, where the Sekrikin really owned the land, they paid for it, and now number one bought it from them. When sold it to number two, you don't really need a claim. In a case like this, we don't need a claim. There's other cases Rashi brings down where we don't make a claim like that. All right, you should look a minute. Here the motive, the stam man does up and some buys it from Sekrikin. Maybe he knows he wouldn't have put his money down for nothing, so he probably did it legitimately, and he took care of Lokech. He took care of Lokech of Yankel and paid him his quarter also. So that's what we say. The first guy, number one, if he made it if Yankel comes to him and says, "What are you doing on my land?" He says, "I bought it from you. I paid the Sekrikin, I paid you, and I've been here 3 years. That's my proof of purchase." If he has a claim, if he wants to claim that it's his, he's got to say, "I bought it from you. I bought it from the Sekrikin." But the second guy, the number two who bought it from number one, he doesn't have a claim, and we make a claim for him. He's not expected to have a claim. Let's say Goyim came and took land from you because you owed them money, or Amparos. Amparos means they took it without cause. They just took it. Now, in a case like that, that's not Sekrikin. There's no Sekrikin there. Meaning, there's no law that you have to pay them to get it out because they took it legitimately. They had no right to take it. They didn't pay for it, so to speak. They just said you have a claim against me, or they had no claim against me. The guy took it. And if they took it without cause, he has to be on the land 12 months before you can buy from him. So there's no law of Sekrik in there. By Amparos, this is what it means. Like we said in the Mishnah, at the end of the Mishnah, Sekrikin themselves, it's got to be there 12 months before you can buy from them. In other words, if Sekrikin took land, and we said at the end of the Mishnah, Rebbe set up a bezdin, he summed the bezdin, and he said, you know what, if the Sekrikin have been there 12 months and the owner hasn't tried to buy it back, then anybody's free to buy it back, but they have to pay the Balam the quarter that he lost, because the Sekrikin always pay a quarter less. So again, there's no din of Sekrikin, meaning if it was there 12 months in the hands of these crooks who took the land without cause, or for what they claim was a loan, but no, there's no law that you pay them, but you just take the land back for nothing. Because the Sekrikin pay for the land. The Sekrikin, they would come and pay. They said, we're buying your land forcibly. except they took off a quarter. They bought it at a discount. So there's a law of Sekrikin. After 12 months, if the owner didn't buy it back, you can buy it from the Sekrikin for that price, 75%, let's say, of the value of the land, and pay the owner the other. But here, they just took it without cause, or claimed that there was a loan, but they didn't really pay anything for it now. So here, you can take back the land without paying anything. The original lokech who sold it to the Sekrikin, he said, look, in those days they used to kill us sometimes, even if they don't kill us now, it's a sale. It's a valid sale. I accept their money because, it was under duress. But over here, right, but over here in this case, he didn't really mean to give it to him at all. When you gave it to a guy without cause, or he claimed that you owed him money, you didn't get anything for it now. And even though he's there 12 months, he just didn't get a chance to get it back from him. So therefore, it's not a sale at all. So there's no law of Sekrikin there. Now, you can't go to a guy who took land forcibly from a Jew for a supposed loan or without cause and buy it from him. You can't buy it from him because it belongs to the Yankel. It belongs to the original Jew. It was taken without due cause, without a deal. There was no sale there. Okay, we have a Kabbalah, we have a tradition, Ein and Pars B'Bavel. There's no, in Bavel, apparently it means that in Bavel, they don't take land without cause. They're not such bad phrase. There are bad guys there. In Bavel, there are. Ella, Ein Din and Pars B'Bavel, right? That there is no din of Pars B'Bavel, meaning that you take land. Why? My time, you keep the Ika Beidina, since there's a court there, below Asel, and you didn't go to court. Couple, you accepted below Asel couple, you didn't go to complain there. You're mochalit. So there's no din on paris. So Rashi explains what that means is ain paris b'bavel, ain din on paris b'bavel. There's no law of amparis to make the lokeach lose his property, because if they took his property away, he should have gone and complained. It's like living in a democratic place where you have a valid claim. They just can't take away your mafia, can't come and take away your land. You can go to court over it.
They mean a Goyish court?
Yeah, any court, a Goyish court even. Because they have a court there. It's called the Beit Davar. It's not really a bezdin, but they have a court there. They have a common court. So therefore, there's no din of Paris and Babel that So therefore, that's Allah in Babel. In other words, we have Sekrikin, but or there's Sekrikin and there's Anparis, meaning we said that Anparis ain't Bamishim Sekrikin. You can't. The land has to go back. Over here, this din Anparis that we said that the land goes back, not the case in Babel, because in Babel, if they took it away, you can get it back. So therefore, you can't. And therefore the Lokech, if he didn't complain about it, he was most of the land. A story. Gidol Bar Ela, that was his name. Kabul Ara B'Takseh. Kabul here does not mean he complained. Kabul means he accepted. It's funny, the line before Kabul means he complained. Right? You didn't go and complain, so you're mofo. Here, Gidol Bar Ela, Kabul Ara B'Takseh. It's more like a Hebrew word. He accepted land for the tax. What does that mean? The people in the valley all had to get together and pay land tax to the government. The Goyish government would say, okay, listen, we want $10,000 for all this land. Everybody would then, in the valley, would, according to the size of their land, they would pay their share of the taxes. One guy, though, left town, went away for a while, and he didn't work the land. He didn't pay anything. So Gil Barile said, okay, I'll work his land. I'll take the produce, and I'll pay the taxes. I'll pay the taxes. Like, you come in, you pay, in return for paying the taxes, you can work the land. The people in the valley let him work that land in return for paying taxes. Sometimes it's good to prepay, but here he prepaid for 3 years. He figures he's going to be here for a while. He prepaid for 3 years the taxes. The owner came back after 1 year, let's say. Amalei, so they told him, Amalei said, Shasakamai said the others, you ate 1 year, okay, fine. 1 year you worked the land, then you paid for that. Now the next 2 years we're gonna pay the tax, and honestly, we're gonna work the land, we're gonna eat the produce, and we're gonna pay the taxes. So the guy said, yeah, but I prepaid for 3 years. Also, so he went to the people in the valley. Some say he owed the money. The people from the owner of that land he prepaid on his behalf. He should have given it to him. Let's say though that went into a common fund. So he went to the people, the manager of the fund who paid the $10,000 to the government. Came for a papa, several blade here for Abnei Baga. So a papa figured, okay, he'll write a document of collection, a collection document that he's entitled to collect the other 2 years that he paid in advance, that he's not going to work the land, and the people from the valley, from that fund, will have to pay him back. Amalei Rafuna, Rega Vishul Papa, no, that's a like Sekrikin, that if something was forcibly done and you paid money for it, that you can pay back the owner and get your money back. It doesn't work that way. It's not Sekrikin over here. It wasn't forcibly taken away. Rashi says over here, in Kana, Sisa Dover, about halfway down in the wide lines, Kedin Sekrikin, that minimum Mishnah Achrona, She'enu Mafsid Klum, the Tani, kind of an in the bottom, you could, after 12 months, you could just, you are quiet, you give the bottom, my devozel of a Khamgabe, or Miesh Biyadam, Likaf, Yachzil, Muscle, because money back. By Namli offset, he shouldn't lose out anything what he paid off to the government. But over here, this is not Sekrikin. Ain't a lamb kiyam amas. They maso as a chov they also a chov nimper lezeh. He shouldn't have paid 3 months. Who asked him to pay 3 years in advance? If the current owner wants to work the land and pay his share of the taxes, he doesn't have to give him back his money. In a case like that, you prepaid for nothing. It's like paying. You want to prepay your 2024 taxes. They won't do that. You can't do that. If you did it, it's like you left your money on the horn of a deer. Too bad. You threw out your money by paying in advance so much. That was the halacha. In other words, even though maybe the fair thing would be for the owner who came back and said, okay, you prepaid for 2 years, I'll give you that, I'll pay you that money back. But he didn't have to. Zum Mishnah Rishona. So that's the Mishnah Rishona. What was the Mishnah Rishona? That he said you have to first buy it from the owner, and if the owner agrees to sell it to you, then you pay the sekrikim, right? That was the first Mishnah. Same thing with a wife and a husband. Bezer Shachraim said, no, if you buy the sekrikin, you can buy the sekrikin, but you have to pay the owner a quarter. That's only if the owner doesn't want to buy it himself. If the owner wants to buy it, he comes first. He has the right of first refusal. And then later on, Rebbe said, assembled the Bezdin, he convened a Bezdin, and they said, well, if the sekrikin's on land 12 months and you didn't say anything, that's it. Then you don't have to. That it basically he's given, the owner didn't say anything for 12 months. He's basically given up his right. So Mr. Rishon, that's gives him a quarter. Now, what kind of a quarter are we talking about? Are we talking about a quarter or b'chutz, right? Amrav, Ravia Bakarka, or Ravia Bamos. Either a quarter of the land or a quarter of the money. On the side, he says, Amravuna, Ravia Bakarka, Shiur, Vimos. Meaning this, let's say he paid $100 to the Sekrikin, right? Paid $100 to the Sekrikin, so he gives the owner a quarter of the money, 25% of the money, meaning quarter of that money, meaning that the land was originally worth $125. And when the Sekrikin bought it, they took off 25%, but not 20. They really took off 20%, right? $125. They gave $100 for it. So if you buy it for $100, you have to give a quarter of that, which is $25. And then it comes out that the original owner got all paid. He got $100 from the Sekrikin and $25 from you. Ushmuel says no. No, a quarter of the land, which is a third of the money, meaning the original property was worth 133 and a third, right? And therefore, when you bought it for $100, you've got to pay the owner, the original owner, Yanko, you got to pay him 33 and a third. So he's whole because the Sekrikin paid $100 for it, and you paid the Sekrikin the $100. The question is, how much do you have to add on? Is it 20%? Meaning, what did the Sekrikin lower it by 20% or by 25%? That's the question. In other words, if the Sekrikin paid 133 and a third, right, and you give them 100, that means that they lowered it by 25%, right? There's 4/3 in 133 and a third, right? There's 4/3 there. So that's the issue.
What's the argument?
The question is, how much do you pay? How much do you pay the? How much do you pay? How much do you? No. We know they paid 100, but what was originally worth? In other words, when they paid 100, was the original price 125 or 133 and a third? That's the question. That's the machlokus over here. Rav says no. Rav says when it says no, when it says Ravia, it means Ravia means according to Rav, Ravia means a quarter of what he paid, of what the Sekrikin paid. Right. And Shmuel says no, it's a quarter of the original price. The Maikim, what's machlokus marsav? And the question is, what's the normal custom? what do the Sekrikim do? One says that they lower it by a quarter. That's the one that says 100 was 100 that they pay 20% less. That's the machlokes. Meisvei. Zumish Mishnah, the Bryce says this. Mishnah like we saw in the Mishnah, but the Bryce says it this way. That was the first Mishnah that you buy first from the owner, then from the Sekrikim. That's in Shachriam Amru. I'll get from the Sekrikim. If you buy the Sekrikim, no Snabam, you give him a third, you give him a quarter. The Yad Baal Malyona. The Baal could either take money, Ratzah Bakarka, Notam Ratzah B'Mosach. And when you pay off the owner, when you pay Yankel, they can either take it in Karka or in money. That's only one that you buy from the Sekrikim, and then you pay off them with a quarter. If the owner himself didn't have the ability to buy it back, if the owner had the ability to buy it back, you have to give him right of first refusal. Rabbi Hoshep Besdin, Rabbi convened the court. The Nimnu, and they voted Shem Shas of B'nei Sekrikim, Shem Shachar, like you saw in the Mishnah. If the land was in the hands of the Sekrikim for 12 months, Shem Shachodesh, then you don't have to go to the owner first, because if he had 12 months was there and he didn't buy it, that's it. Anybody buy it. Avonos in the Baalim, Reviya B'Karka or Reviya B'Mos. Here the Brisa says you give him a quarter of the karka or a quarter of the money, not a third of the money. So that's a kasha on Shmuel. Ravashi when he says a quarter, means after you paid him the third, so you got 133. It comes out that it's a quarter. It's this question how you interpret the words. Rav said in that Bezdin that the Rebbe convened the Bezdin, and they said if the Sekrikim there for 12 months, he didn't say anything that anybody can go and buy it. They don't have to go first to the owner. They can just buy it themselves. He says, I was in that. I was among the people voted in Rebbe's court. I was in that court. And they asked my opinion first. Now, Rav was either an average in that court or he was the lowest of the court. Rebbe was the highest of the court. And they started from him, Beration, and they asked my opinion first. We learned. When it comes to in the Bezdin, when it comes to money matters or Tumatara, you start from the oldest, the greatest person, the most prominent person in the court. That would be Rebbe. In a fascist side, then you start from the side, meaning because if the Supreme Court Justice, let's say Rebbe over here, says I think he's guilty and is high of death, the other people won't want to argue. Rashi says you shouldn't respond to a dispute. You shouldn't start up a fight, so you're afraid you don't want to argue with him. When it comes to money matters, that's okay. That's okay because there it's not such a big deal. He says Sana Rib is really only on capital cases, not money matters. But for money matters, you start from the gadol. So how could they start from Rav over here? Rav says they asked my opinion first. I'm a Rav became Rafil Berei the Rabbalas Shani Minyan de Rebbe. It was different by the count by the court of Rebbe, where they took the count there to Kulamin Minayum outside. Rebbe held that Losana Rib even applies, so according to Rashi, even applies by money matters. So in all those cases, he doesn't start with Rebbe, that the other people, the other court, the justices shouldn't follow his opinion. And Rebbe's court, they all followed, they started with the side, meaning they didn't ask the Supreme Court justice's opinion first, they asked the other ones first. Even though the Pasiks talk about the Nefashos, they felt there also. So therefore, Rebbe the Kul Minyan outside. Now, in Rebbe's court, they always started without asking Rebbe's opinion first, because he held the Losana Rib, even though the end of the pasuk is talking about. In the Pashos, he held that the beginning of the pasuk, which says, "Don't dispute." Darshans at Losana Rib, don't respond to a dispute. Darshans without the Yud, Losana El Rav. If the main rabbi says one opinion, don't disagree with him. So therefore, they never started with Rebbe's opinion when it came to Rebbe's court. They always started with the people on the side. So this was a member that was said by Rabba Berei the Rava. If he came to Rav Hillel Berei Ravalos, either Rabba or Rava said this, or some say that was said in the name of Rav Hillel Berei Ravalos. We'll stop here, but the next line it tells another story that has nothing to do with our Gemara, but it was another thing by the same author. Many times you have that it's a different topic, but it's the same author, Rabba became Rav Ravalos, that he said from the time of Moshe until the time of Moshe until Rebbe, you never found that the greatest person in Torah in Israel was also the wealthiest. You never found Torah and Gedula in one place. The Gemara goes on to discuss other cases throughout history. We'll pick it up there tomorrow, Mitzvah. Have a good day.